Roe v. Wade decision was bad law and inherently extreme. Quote, I don't like the Supreme Court decision on abortion. I think it went too far. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body, which makes sense because you can't create a baby without a man. So why is it not a man's issue too? Shut up, they screamed. But Joe Biden has changed his view. Now he will say precisely what they tell him to say. And today, he attacked the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Watch.
We have the strongest economy in the world. Our inflation rates are lower than other nations in the world. The one thing that has been destabilizing is the outrageous behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States on overruling not only Roe v. Wade, but essentially challenging the right to privacy. We've been a leader in the world in terms of personal rights and privacy rights, and it is a mistake, in my view, for the Supreme Court to do what it did.
We're a leader in the world in terms of personal rights, unless you criticize Joe Biden on the internet, in which case the FBI may wind up at your house. But free speech is no longer a personal right, nor a self-defense. So here in Brazil, it is still a mostly pro-life country. It's still mostly a Christian country, but the left here would very much like to change that. Babies are the problem. We spoke to Bolsonaro about this. We also talked about his gun policies and how, provably, allowing civilians to protect themselves has reduced violent crime. Here it is. What are your opponent's views of Christianity?
Olha, a esquerda...
The left wing, I mean, the vast majority of them are atheists. They do not respect anything. They criticize priests and pastors, and Lula himself has said that he will, if elected, he will place priests and pastors and the military in their rightful place, or in the right place in society. For instance, when the U.S. Supreme Court recently changed its understanding and ruling on abortion, the left wing in Brazil did not like that. We did like the new stance taken by the U.S. Supreme Court because we defend life from its very conception. But not so among the left-wing people in Lula. Lula and the left wing, they often say that abortion is a matter of public health, and it is the woman that should decide. We believe that the life that has been given to a woman does not belong to the woman. And that is a stance espoused by our religion. The federal Supreme Court Chief Justice Barroso, who favors abortion, he himself stated that it is not the right time to discuss that issue yet. And in case he goes back to power, because there are 2 more positions to be appointed to the Supreme Court, he will certainly, if elected, he will appoint chief justices that will support the abortion policy. In Colombia, for example, abortion has been confirmed by the Supreme Court. In Brazil, the Supreme Court has interfered a great deal, not only in the legislative, but also in the judiciary, of course. Lula and the left wing believe that once they do come back to power, it would be irrelevant to count on those who are elected in Congress, because they will actually wield the power over Parliament. And they will be able to legislate through the Supreme Court, just as they have legislated on issues such as homophobia and nepotism, which is, of course, the policy of employing members of your own family as a publicly appointed member of Congress. We lowered the tax called IPS, the tax on industrialized goods, and the Supreme Court said that was not correct. They changed it. Very often, the Supreme Court in Brazil, they make decisions that should otherwise be only decided by the executives, such as, for example, federal taxes.
The left in Brazil, Lula, seemed to be trying to introduce identity politics, American-style race, resentment-based politics into Brazil. Do you notice this, and is it working?
It is a way to divide and conquer. You know, even before Lula took office in 2003, the left wing would already preach that. I mean, the division of people along identity lines, such as blacks and whites, and employers and employees, and people from the northeastern Brazil, vis-a-vis southern Brazil. They have gained followers as a result of that approach. And the major divisionary split today is between employers and employees. Lots of followers, and they say that, hey, you're not doing well today because of your employer. And that divide approach or policy, the workers probably have always gained at least 1/4 of the Brazil population. They have always been supported by at least 1/4 of the Brazilian population. My father-in-law is known as Paulo Nigon, black man, and I am blue-eyed white man. Racism is there in Brazil, yes, but not as it is often described. Most of our main football players are, people of African descent. No worries.
You've liberalized gun laws here. You've made it easier for civilians to own firearms. Why did you do that?
Eu não consegui mexer na lei brasileira.
I was unable to actually change the Brazilian law, but by means of a presidential decree and also through ministerial orders, we interpreted the existing legislation as best as possible. And there has been a substantial increase in the number of people who legally own firearms in Brazil. And the consequences you see in the Brazilian media is a drop in the number of people who are killed by firearms in Brazil. We understand that once people get armed, the crooks, the thieves, will think twice before they break into other people's property. If, of course, the number had gone up, I would be blamed. But just the opposite is going on today. And if reelected, if everything goes well, we will have a substantial support in Congress, and we will be able to pass laws on firearms very much along the same lines as in the U.S.